There's many that say if we were still on the gold standard, that we wouldn't have all these, forever wars everywhere because we literally couldn't afford them. You'd actually have to choose between feeding your citizens and giving them protection and fighting overseas. But now, when you can print money at will, you can go do a lot of things that maybe you shouldn't be doing.
Well, how do you persuade the government that energy security and food security are absolutely vital and essential? They should come before everything else. And we're not doing that. We really are not. We need to focus on those things like a laser because the population is not going to sit around and take it forever. Lenin used to say every society is 3 meals away from a revolution. Let the supply chains break down for a short time or even a long time. You'd be surprised what will happen inside the United States when people aren't certain that they can eat, when they can't afford things, when they can't pay for gasoline, which is quite high right now. It's much lower in many places, but it's very high in the United States, probably higher in Europe. Eventually, that's going to come home to haunt us as well. So I think there's no easy answer other than the hard answer. And when you mention this business about gold, let's face it, the reserve currency today is gold. That's where the world is heading. For the first time, nobody says this in the mainstream media. I don't know why. Nassim Taleb brings it up from time to time, but right now, all the countries, the central banks all over the world collectively have more gold than the U.S. Treasury. Now, if you aspire to be the great superpower that apparently people in Washington want to remain, that should give everybody pause. Now, maybe somebody thinks that we're going to go down to Venezuela, march into the interior, seize the gold mines, and pull out gold. I don't know. I think the Viking Age is over, so I'm not sure that's a good plan. But you got a lot of people thinking in those terms.
Yeah, and obviously we've seen the gold price spike recently and a lot of people doing that flight to quality. I was actually in Singapore a couple weeks ago and our taxi driver was boasting to us that somebody came in the other day with some marijuana and was going to be executed. And, when you're in Singapore, that's just how it is. I think chewing gum is still illegal. And they really set up this regime, and that country grew from a bunch of opium dens and pirates in 65 to, the 4th or 6th largest GDP in the world. It's incredible what they built, all by making the citizens accountable. I also spent a lot of time in Dubai. I'll be there on Friday. And that's another place where, there's maybe there's drugs, but I don't know. I've never seen them or heard about them. And I know they'll deal with you. And, they've got that locked down. And I prefer to be in places like that. But in the U.S., like you said, that would be inconceivable, I guess, to do that to the population.
I think it is at the moment, but I think it's going to get a lot worse in the future. And I think more and more Americans are going to demand that the law be enforced. We have a problem right now because President Trump, whether he likes it or not, is a lightning rod for many.
Investment Club. Today, I consider it the best investment that I've ever made. We get 4 projects presented a week by their associated CEOs. Personally, I'm completely blown away by the quality of these projects, and I know of nowhere else where I would be given this same opportunity. Each week that passes, I feel more appreciative of the fact that I'm a member of this group. The vibe was just tremendous. Everybody's on the same wavelength. We just clicked. Everybody listened to each other, enjoyed their company. It was just magical. Take action. Don't take my word for it. Due diligence you need to do. And I really hope that someday down the road I see you in the club. It far exceeded expectations, without question.
For many, many issues, even things for which he's absolutely not responsible. So he's an easy person to point to mobilize discontent and hatred. And remember, you've got a lot of people out there. Soros is one of many, but people out there who are willing to fund Antifa or fund anybody who is anti-Trump and resist the federal law. And if you don't enforce federal law, you don't have a country. We had a dispute over that in 1861, and it was brutal. We settled it. If you're not going to enforce federal law, you have a choice. You can change it or you can impose it. Now, Trump wants to impose it. I happen to agree with him. How he's doing it, that's another matter, because everything goes back to this reality TV moment. And what we need from a president right now is not drama. We need explanations. We need rationality. FDR, and certainly not one of my favorite presidents, but FDR was very good at this sort of thing. And he had something called the fireside chats. I think there were only 5 or 6 of them. But he sat there quietly in the Oval Office. He was speaking over the radio, and he said, well, I'm joining you this evening to explain why we need to extend Lend-Lease to our friends in Great Britain. And then he did, very quietly. And everybody tracked through the polling what happened. And overnight, the opposition to Lend-Lease to Britain dropped from something around 60 or 70% down to 30%. That's kind of what we need right now. We need someone to stand in front of the map and say, let me show you where the drug trafficking is happening, where the illegal human trafficking has occurred, and what we need to do to deal with these issues. This is our strategy. Now I'm going to introduce you to the man I put in command of this effort. And by the way, we've been through many, many exercises in the deportation of illegals. Everybody thinks this is new. After the stock market crash, President Herbert Hoover, who was by no means military in his bearing or thinking, deported 9 million Mexicans. Now, did he deport them because he didn't like Mexicans? Absolutely not. But these were people that had come here and stayed here. And he said, I've got to open up the jobs that they are doing for Americans. And you've heard this business, Americans won't do that. That's why we have these people. Well, guess what? When the Depression set in, Americans did all of those jobs. And so his real purpose was, let's get these non-Americans out of here, or they'll become targets. People will say, what are you doing here in my country? Why are you getting this or that? And right now, we're treating all of these illegals as though they were our own citizens. In fact, in many cases, they're being treated better. I think you have something similar in your country right now that's aggravating and annoyed people. You can't ignore the vast base of your citizenry. You have to listen to them. And I think these issues are going to become more acute as our economic position worsens, as our financial position worsens.
Hey, I know investing in crypto is scary. It takes a real leap of faith because there are so many scams, rug pulls, and bad actors out there. It's a dangerous business, which is why 95% of people lose all their money. Well, that's why I created the London Real Investment Club, so you can access the hottest deals on the planet and use the crypto bull market to create the generational wealth that you deserve. Join my team of over 100 people from around the world that are making millions of dollars behind the scenes investing in blockchain, AI, Web3 games, DeFi, Bitcoin, and more. Don't miss out. Click the link below to book a call with one of my team now. But hurry, this bull market will end soon.
I know investing in crypto can be scary. That's why you gotta join the investment club. Pull the trigger. Let's do this.